This is the only clip I got of a good night out. This was the first hour before anybody else got there. Even the barman left me for a while. And the following day I headed off to Spanish Point, where I found somewhere excellent to park. Although the main car park had height restrictions, there was plenty of parking along the road. Spanish Point was so named after the Spanish Armada of 1588, when ships wrecked here. Evidence of mass graves were only discovered in 2015. These graves showed the bodies of executed Spanish sailors. Those that didn't drown were executed. The beach here at Spanish Point is over 1 kilometre long, and it holds a blue flag. But when the tide's out like it is today, it looks a little bit dirty. I stayed at a campsite last night in Milton Malby. The first time I'd stayed on a camp in my whole of my island trip, apart from at Cove Harbour, which was free. This is just 2 miles away and was worth a quick stop off. I didn't really have any plans for the day. I hadn't really checked my map, and before I knew it, I was at one of Ireland's most famous tourist attractions. So what kind of idiot would visit the Cliffs of Moher on a bank holiday Monday? Now, visiting the cliffs just costs you the €10 to park your car in the big car park. What do they say? Paved over paradise to create a parking lot. Well, the little gift shops were interesting to look round, and the cliffs were mighty impressive. Probably Ireland's second best cliffs. Although the cliffs at Kerry might argue that. I've been told, wait till I get to Slieve League. They're 3 times as high as the Cliffs of Moher. The Cliffs of Moher, however, are on a nice fast loop of islands for foreign tourists doing the whole trip of Ireland in a rush, whereas Slieve League, a little bit out of the way on lesser roads. At the end of this video, I get to see the Cliffs of Moher from the sea. As I'm originally from Dover in England, I'm used to big cliffs, white, prominent cliffs. However, I still enjoyed coming here. And tomorrow I had a really special place to visit, something I've been wanting to do for a long time. In the distance, I could see the mountains of Galway, and in the midground was the Aran Islands. Inishmore is where I'll be going tomorrow, and I really can't wait to go and visit a special place on that island. There we can see parts of it. There's a very famous shipwreck there. It's very, very hard to see, that featured in Father Ted. In the opening titles of Father Ted was the Plessy shipwreck on one of the Aran Islands. This is the view from Doolin Pier. I didn't actually venture into Doolin at all, which was a shame. I paid to stay at the campsite nearby for a couple of nights, somewhere safe to leave my van when I went out across to the islands for the day. But also I was starting to have eye problems, and those problems would end my trip early in a few days' time, but there was still time to get to Inishmore. I spent the evening walking around the Doolin Pier area, and I watched the boats coming back from sunset cruises and from the islands. It was all very lovely down here. Ferries run across to the islands from March through to the end of October. Out of that time, I'm not sure how you get there. There may be a passage from Galway or somewhere like that. I spent the rest of the evening watching the waves crash onto the rocks before heading off to the campsite, which I forgot to film. Got myself a shower, made my dinner for the night, and got ready for the following morning's trip to Inishmore. I've spent most of my life living near the sea, and I always have a fascination with coastal road trips. as is pretty evident from the trips I've done on this channel. This is video of the Cliffs of Moher. It's kind of out of sequence, but I needed to put it in the same video. There's the tower, the lookout tower on top of the Cliffs of Moher, and that's what they look like from the sea. It is actually very, very impressive. This trip along the coast of the Cliffs of Moher was an add-on to my Aran Islands trip. It probably wasn't a necessary trip. Just going out to the islands and back would have been enough without this little add-on bit. I don't think it was really necessary, but it was interesting. Unfortunately, the boat came back rather fast, so it was hard to get some good footage unless you were sat on the right side of the boat, and I'm sure there's a word for that, like starboard. The boat just played a generic tourist recording over the tannoy for you to listen to that wasn't the slightest bit interesting. Roll on, sleeve league, another year perhaps. At this point I had no idea that my trip was coming to an end. Be sure to check the next episode when I visit Inishmore, and after that there'll be a few more episodes from this year where I visited some much more exciting places on the Irish coast.